give me a listen. You corpses of cheer, least those of you who still got an ear. I'll tell you a story, make a skeleton cry of our own jubiliciously lovely corpse bride. You might try high and you might try brave, but we all end up the remains of the day. Well, our girl was a beauty known for miles around when a mysterious stranger came into town. He was planning
All
a
right.
look down on his.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Halloween. A few days before schedule. I'm Jimi Hendrix, and this is Tom Morello. And for this first song of mine, Tom is going to embody my guitar playing spirit. The song is called Angel. Who do we have on lyrics today? Is it you? Home, Skillet, Biscuit. Jared's on the lyrics and doing the sound today. We'll multitask. So if you're a Hendrix fan and you love this song of mine, you can sing along. It's called Angel. trick song for you. The rest of the set you hopefully know. This next song is called Faith, so we're sitting, but you can keep sitting or you can stand and dance and sing along. And yeah, the song is called Faith. This next one is called Out of Hiding. I know I've probably told this story before, but I'm going to tell it again. I know about this song because of Peter, actually. And it was I think the first song I heard by Stephanie. Sorry, who are you? Tom. All right, the first song that Tom Morello introduced me to, which is weird because it's different eras. Anyway, this song is by Stephanie Gressinger and Amanda Cook together, and this is the first song that I heard by them, and yeah. First time I had experienced someone writing a song about God in this way, kind of opened my heart a little bit. So I hope I can do something similar for you.
Good morning, everybody. How's it going? Did you see how clutch my kid was with the costume? That was insane. Couldn't have planned that better. And I'm sure it's obvious what I am. Yeah. We're Tiffany and Owen. Yeah. It looks better when we're together, I guess. Otherwise, I just kind of look like a cookie or something. But we are officially rock, paper, scissors. Clap, please. It's not quite Jimi Hendrix and Tom Morello, but, it's pretty cool. How are y'all today? Yeah, woo. Was it, kind of crazy getting here for some of you guys? I know the roads are tough. But you came in costume, Larnell. I don't understand. Yeah, it's a smooth dude. Oh, okay. The only real announcement we've had for weeks was that Halloween on Central was today. So other than that, I guess no announcements today. We're not doing brunch, but if you want to hang, you can go to Halloween on Central, which is literally right out our back door. Hannah, we have a booth that way? One block that way, in front of Haslam's. Yeah, in front of the sad husk of Haslam's that used to be there and is no longer. Anyway, right over there. Come by, say hello, bring candy, get candy, whatever. This is important. If you are staying for Halloween on Central and you parked across the street, you got to move your car because afterwards they're going to sell the lot. If you parked over there and you're leaving, you're good to go. Cool? Okay. It's cool to see you today. You all look amazing. If you look down here, you'll see a box of oatmeal cream pies. Oh my gosh. Stupid rock. Ridiculous. I don't even know if I'm wearing it right. Does it look weird? No, I'm all tangled. Who could have seen that coming? We're going to pick a winner. Could be me. So don't leave. If you're in a costume, don't leave. At the end of the service, one of you lucky, amazing people is going to go home. I assume you're going to go home with it, but you could eat it in the car. I don't know. That's it. That's all I got. Hannah, please get up here. Woo!
I had to unmute myself. Listen. You should know this is not my real Halloween costume. This is a recycle. If you've been an OG Diff Church person, you have seen this before. But it was before we got TikTok famous. And by TikTok famous, I mean before everyone on TikTok decided we were the literal devil. My actual costume is I'm just wearing a striped shirt and a mask. And it doesn't mean anything unless you see my baby, who's a bag of money. Yes, so I am going to rob him and carry him around. And he's going to be adorable. But really, joke's on me, because he's going to cost me a lot in my life. So I have decided to pick this because I figured TikTok needed more reasons to hate us. Now, last Sunday, I got several complaints from people because we ended on a cliffhanger, and I didn't mean to. I did mean to end on a cliffhanger, but I did not mean to forget to tell you that you just had to come back today, and I would tell you the rest of the story, / you could just read the book of Esther and also find out the ending. There's closure, okay? Nobody needs to leave today freaking out. We're going to find out what happened to Esther. So, yes. I love your costumes. Esther has been fasting, at this point, for 3 days straight, along with all the Jews in the city of Susa. If you weren't here last week, recap. She has learned through her cousin Mordecai that there's a day coming up, signed into law, where all the Jews are going to be murdered, and she's going to try to intervene and do something about it. So we're picking up with Esther in chapter 5, where Esther is about to go see the king, an action which could have quite literally caused her death, because if you showed up unannounced and uninvited to the king of Persia, even if you were the queen, you would be executed immediately, unless he was like, I guess you're fine today, and extended the golden scepter to you. Nevertheless, Esther is going to go. So she puts on her fanciest, finest clothing, probably a Taco Bell hot sauce packet. She makes herself look as appealing as possible, and then she sets off to see how the king will react. Xerxes, not in a bad mood for once, is actually pleased to see her. So he's like, yes, queen. And he extends the scepter to her. This is obviously the Hannah translation, even though I didn't start with what happened was, which I should have. So he extends the scepter to her, and he's so happy to see her, in fact, that he's like, what do you have on your mind, Queen Esther? Up to half the kingdom, I will give it to you. Pretty good reception, right? So if you were going to the king to ask for something, and he was like, up to half the kingdom, you can have it, would you then not come out with your request? Yes? Okay, Esther does not do this. Esther, instead of telling the king what's going on and how all the Jews are going to be murdered, she invites the king and Haman, the guy who wants to kill everyone, to dinner that evening. So essentially, she's trying to wine and dine the king. She's also observing the proper standards of Middle Eastern graciousness, okay? So rather than rushing into her shopping list of requests, she says, let's have dinner first. We can talk about that later. And the king is happy to have dinner with the queen, and Haman feels very important to have been invited. And that evening, they eat dinner, and Xerxes again to Esther is like, what is your request? Tell me what you need. Up to half the kingdom, it will be given to you. Parentheses, I know you did not show up to me unannounced, risking your life just to invite me to dinner. Which would be the perfect time for Esther to come out with her request. Right? No. She responds by saying, please come to dinner again tomorrow night, you and Haman, and then I'll tell you. Now, asking the king to dinner the first night and then repeating that request the next day, okay, encourages this relationship with the king that will make it very hard for him to refuse her actual request. In effect, she's saying, well, if you'd like to come back here for dinner again tomorrow, I'll tell you what I need then, and then, you'll grant it, won't you? And by accepting the dinner invitation, Xerxes has almost made an explicit commitment to do so. And perhaps he knows this and is fine with it because he likes Esther. After all, he did make her queen. It's also far beyond his comprehension how serious her actual request will be. And so he's like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. And everyone says goodnight. Haman leaves dinner ecstatic that he and he alone has been chosen by the queen to accompany the king not once, but twice to a special banquet she is hosting. So he's on cloud 9. But on his way out of the palace, he passes Mordecai, who refuses to bow to him yet again. And not only does Mordecai refuse to bow to him, he has the audacity to not even be afraid of him. So Haman is livid, and as any normal person, he goes home and brags to his friends and family and anyone who will listen to him about how great he is and about how he alone gets to go eat with Queen Esther and the king and how wonderful he is and how he has the king's signet ring and he's such an important person. I imagine Haman is the most irritating person alive. But, he says, I can't truly celebrate any of this because that dumb Mordecai refuses to bow to me. And it's basically, as my grandmother would say, a turd on an ice cream sundae. Doesn't do anything to the turd, but it ruins the ice cream. So Haman's wife, she's a treasure, she's trying to cheer him up. She's like, Haman, you know what would make you feel better? If you built a 50-cubit high gallows, that's 75 feet, so 7 stories high gallows, that you can hang Mordecai on. And then tomorrow morning, why don't you just go ask the king if you can murder Mordecai? That will make you feel better. And Haman, being a totally normal person, does this before bed that night. Okay? That same night, the king cannot sleep. Being a king is weighing heavy on his kingly soul. And so he's like, you know what would put me to sleep? Government records. So he calls the palace workers and he's like, read the government records to me of all the things that have happened since I've become king. While they're reading, the curious happening that we talked about last week of Mordecai foiling an assassination attempt against him is read. Xerxes is like, wait, did we ever say thank you to that guy? Did we send a fruit basket? And the palace workers are like, no, you didn't do anything. You just murdered the people that were going to try to kill you, and then that was that. And Xerxes is like, what? I didn't even send a thank you card. We have have to do something about this. He must be rewarded for saving my life. By this time, it's morning. I guess reading the government records didn't make him sleepy. So Xerxes has been up all night. Haman shows up first thing in the morning to ask the king if he can hang Mordecai on the special 75-foot gallows that he constructed. However, before he can get his request out, the king is like, Haman, I'm so glad you're here. What should we do for a man that I want to celebrate? Now, Haman, being very full of himself, thinks that the king is obviously talking about him. So he tells him what I would want. He's like, oh, do you know what would be magical? Is if you take some clothing that the king has worn, royal robes, and you put it on this person. And then you take a horse that the king has ridden on, and you put the person on the horse. And you take one of the highest nobles in the land, who would never lead a horse around, ever, and have that person lead this horse through the city, proclaiming to everyone that this is what happens to the person that the king thinks is great. And then the king says, awesome, go do that for Mordecai. And even implies a death threat if he doesn't do it. He's like, don't, every word of that, make sure it is said. Okay, so Haman has to go get Mordecai, the guy he hates so much that he wants to kill him and his entire people group. And he has to dress him in royal clothing, put him on a royal horse, and lead him around the busiest part of the city, proclaiming out loud how wonderful the king thinks Mordecai is. Ha ha ha. Poetic justice. Haman has to do this because he knows there's a threat of death, right, if he doesn't comply. He's terrible, but he's not an idiot. Okay, Haman is so upset after this that he rushes home and has a giant pity party. And his wife, who was like, last night, I would cheer you up, make a gallows, right? His wife this night is like, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. You're on the wrong side of this. But he doesn't get to wallow for very long. Poor Haman, because the palace workers show up to take Haman to the dinner party with the king and the queen. This is where it gets good. That other stuff was just preamble. So after dinner, they have this dinner, okay, everyone's happy, everyone's a little drunk. After this dinner, the king asks Esther again what she wants. And this time, she responds. And it's something neither the king nor Haman could have imagined in their wildest of dreams. This is what it says in chapter 7. This is Esther talking. If I have found favor in your eyes, your majesty, if it seems good to your majesty, may my life be given as my petition. My people as my request, because I and my people have been sold to be destroyed and slaughtered and eliminated. And if we had been sold as servants, I would have kept silent, because the distress would not be worthy of the king's trouble. Oh, Esther. I read this and I'm like, dang girl, you're like Queen of Inception right here. Emotional, what is it called? Emotional manipulation of the room. She is in charge of this, okay? She's asking the king to spare her life and the life of her people. She's like, I'm so sorry to be so much trouble to you. I wouldn't have even bothered you if we were just going to be sold as slaves. But I'm literally going to be killed, and I thought, since I'm queen, you might want to know that. All of this, again, designed to put the king in a position where he has to do something. Xerxes cannot believe what he is hearing. What? Someone would try to kill the queen? What's wrong with you? And he's like, who would do such a thing? And then Esther, it says this literally in scripture, but I imagine her doing who would try to kill me? That bad man Haman. And the king is so mad that he storms out of the room into the palace garden to cool off, because he's literally going to wring Haman's neck by himself. Haman has a panic attack because he had no idea that the queen was a Jew. And now he sees that he has been caught in Esther's spider web. He should have run, okay, but he stays. He tries to plead to Esther for his life. Unfortunately for Haman, the king walks back in while Haman there's a quote from scripture, falling on the couch where Esther was. Very likely he was just trying to beg for his life, right? But to the king, it looks like he's trying to assault the queen. So Xerxes is like, Is he also to violate the queen with me in the house? And then one of the palace workers speaks up, someone who clearly knew all the tea and is dying to spill it. And he's like, Xerxes, didn't you know that Haman made a gallows specifically for Mordecai, the guy who saved your life from an assassination attempt? So he's just adding to this, right? So not only is Haman trying to murder the queen, Haman wants to murder the guy who saved the king's life. And then Esther finally tells the king that Mordecai is her cousin who raised her after her parents died. And Xerxes is like, many words I cannot say in church. It says that the palace workers covered Haman's face, which is essentially like, you dead. So Xerxes then orders Haman to be hanged on the gallows he built for Mordecai. And then he takes everything that belonged to Haman, all his wealth and riches and animals and houses and everything, and gives it to Mordecai. Wild. But wait, there's more. There's still the pesky situation of the murder holiday that's coming up that Haman paid for. Okay, so apparently laws cannot be reversed in Persia. Dumb, but apparently that's how it was. And the king could not just take back the murder day. So instead, they write a new law that gives permission for the Jews in the empire to stand up for themselves and fight back against anyone who wants to kill them or take their stuff. Mordecai is in charge of writing this new law. He now has the signet ring of Haman taken off his dead body. And they're given the right to self-defense and the right to plunder from the people who try to kill them, which is essentially just the reverse of the original law. However, they're not given carte blanche to go around sorting people, as Nova would say. So the day arrives. There's a massive fight. The Jews fight back. They win. It says 75,000 people are killed. Now, the Jews have permission to take all the stuff from the people that they kill, which is the reverse of the original law, but it says they don't touch the plunder. They act in self-defense only and then go back to their lives. There are historical accuracy questions about the book of Esther. Like, nowhere in the history of Persia, in their own records, does it ever say that Esther was queen. I don't know that we should take these numbers too literally, okay? And compared with the numbers from Chronicles, which is the same time period that the book of Esther is set on, okay, the number of people is rather small. So in Chronicles, even Sudan can muster an army of 1 million people. Compared to that, 75,000 in Persia is a small number. So some scholars actually believe that this number is meant to suggest restraint, which would fit with not taking plunder from the dead people. Although, modern people do tend to be offended by the killing in Esther because our lives are not like this, right? We don't really understand. If violence is, quote, necessary now, we send other people to do it. We don't do it ourselves. We send, the police. We send the military. There was no police in Persia, okay? There's no law-keeping force other than the king's army who were off for the day. It is basically an ancient version of the purge. Here's a day. Go murder as many people as you would like, and anyone who might protect you, offline. Vacation. Not available. Good luck. Hope you don't die. See you on the other side. It is also fairly typical of Old Testament stories to look at things from the viewpoint of the victim, right? So this story, the entire book of Esther, it does not ask what you would do if you were Xerxes. It does not ask you what moral choices you would make if you were in charge. It doesn't even ask if the killing at the end is right or wrong from a theological or ethical standpoint. It doesn't address it at all. The book of Esther is written to a group of people who are trying to piece their lives back together after their country was taken over and its people were forcibly relocated to Babylon. Okay? So it's written to underdogs. It's written to outsiders. It is trying to encourage its readers and remind them that even in the most horrible of situations, justice will be done to the Hamans of the world. Evil will not win. Justice will prevail. Haman will get what's coming to him. And the deliverance will happen through the courage of an orphaned teenage girl who had very few choices available to her. Because Esther, despite being taken advantage of in every way possible, uses the limited power she has to change the course of history for her people. course, there are multiple schools of thought on this, right? One school of thought is, yeah. Haman got what's coming to him. Another Jewish approach, okay, sees this slaughter at the end of 75,000 people as the ultimate irony, meant to remind Jewish readers, remember this is not written to us, it's written to Jews, that they are no more peace-loving and gentle than anyone else. And as soon as the tables are turned and the underdog is in power, the dynamic of violence just continues under a different name. So does God sanction this? Is it a divine stamp of approval just because it's in the Bible? Let's table that and think about ourselves. We're all Americans here. We live in America. God bless America. Land that I love, our nation was founded on land theft. Countless broken treaties on the suppression, exclusion, and near eradication of people who inhabited this land. La la la, so fun. Let's sing about it forever. And then having stolen the land, okay, our forefathers then prospered on the subjugation and enslavement of an entire another people group, African enslaved people. And now, we just try to attempt to dominate the world conversation. I don't know if any of you are in the exact same position in life that I am, but in college, I was very into Dane Cook, okay? And he has a bit, he's a comedian if you don't know. He got in big trouble for copying jokes. But this was maybe at the height of his popularity. He had this little bit about how great America was. And he was like, America just likes to go into other countries and be like, gadoosh, let's take a photo, smile. You like us. You don't want what? No, you're not smiling. You don't remember what happened over there. You don't want us to do that again, do you? Okay, everybody smile. Oh, we're so great. Okay, see you later. Love you. Bye. Don't look it up. I'm sure that was an awful butchering of that. His poor bit. Jarrett laughs because he knows Dane Cook personally. No, I'm kidding. Everything I know about God tells me that God is outraged by the atrocities of our ancestors in this land and brokenhearted for the victims, and that God remains outraged by our continued arrogance today. But what's God supposed to do? Forever curse all Americans? Refuse to hear us when we pray? Refuse to be involved in our lives? Forsake all American children of every race and class and ethnicity for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren because of the original American Holocaust? Does God's being involved with the people of a nation that was conceived in blood and theft imply an endorsement of the atrocities that were and are committed? Further, what country in the world does not have violence in their heritage? All of our genes descend from people who are just like the Persians and the Jews in the book of Esther. So if God is involved with anyone, God has to be involved with the violent and the children of the violent because there isn't anyone else. There's just us. That's not an excuse, but it is reality. We cannot remove ourselves from the equation like we love to do as modern people reading old texts in the Bible and stand above it with our lofty judgments on them and on God at the same time while we ignore the blood on our own hands, the hands of our nation. Also, we're not really the underdog. We love to be like, yeah, Esther. We're not the underdog, okay? We're Haman. There is no other raw material for God to work with but this often ugly and violent and primitive material, humans. And if God wants a nonviolent and kind humanity in the future, then God has to enter this heartbreaking relationship with violent and cruel humans in the meantime. Just like parents, if they would like a beautiful, mature adult child, have to begin with a screaming, pooping, illiterate baby. I've begun twice. We're not at the beautiful, mature adult stage yet. Some days I question if we ever will be. Second, consider our civilization, okay? Imagine in 1,000 years from now, we have our world that's like ravaged by the side effects of the Industrial Revolution. We've got global warming. We've got fossil fuels. We've got the extinction of species. We've got the pollution of the water and the air and nuclear contamination. I could just go on and on and on. But we have to get to candy later, okay? Because we're going to forget all the bad stuff and just be happy for Halloween. This is Halloween. Our descendants, imagine our descendants 1,000 years from now looking back on us and being like, y'all, that was the most destructive era in human history. The amount of garbage that you did. They might say something like, what? How could God have ever blessed those people whose existence was based on consumption and through their taxes and sometimes donations funded the creation of horrific weapons? Wouldn't God's blessing them be a sign of approval on their destructive ways? And we would protest. We would be like, we didn't know. We didn't know how much damage we were doing. We knew it was bad, but like we didn't know how bad, okay? Some people knew and tried to tell us, but we were kind of caught up in our own lives. We were ignorant and self-absorbed, and that's not a sin, is it? We were just trying to survive. It's how everyone lived in our day. And I imagine the Jews in Susa being the same. What do you mean we shouldn't take power? What do you mean we shouldn't fight back? What do you mean Jesus wasn't even on the scene yet? Okay? And maybe God would protest as well and be like, yeah, I did not approve of what they did. I did not approve of what we did. But I loved them and I wanted them to survive for their own sakes and for yours. According to the Torah, which is the Hebrew Scriptures, while God at the beginning, okay, is, quote, commanding the destruction of Canaan. God is, y'all can come back up here. I'm almost done. I'm like really almost done. I'm not just saying that. Some of you didn't laugh, which means you did not have a pastor when you were growing up say that 17 times to you as a child, and then you just cried about the fact that you didn't even have any crackers to eat while the service went on until 1 p.m. I don't have any religious trauma. It's fine. While God is commanding the destruction of Canaan, God is simultaneously commanding that as soon as the Israelites have secured a home, they must always treat their neighbors and any foreigners with respect and kindness. God never commands them to build a divinely sanctioned empire that will conquer all their neighbors and destroy or assimilate them. After all, they had just been the victims of this in Egypt. Instead, God strictly limits the violence. And then some time passes, and then Jesus comes with a new command. Love one another, especially your enemies. Boo. Forgive without inflicting any revenge. Boo. Give everything you have. Don't take or hold tightly to what you have. Boo. No, thank you. It sounds wonderful until you have to do it. Actually, I don't think it sounds wonderful. I think it sounds terrible. I would like to not love my enemies. I would like to hold on to grudges for a very long time. And I would like to keep all my stuff. But it's the explicit command from Jesus to do. All the law and all the prophets can be boiled down to this one thing. Love one another. Forgive and give. And we have to do it. And it starts small, but has eternal ramifications. It starts, like I said last week, with my neighbors down the street who have signs for opposing political parties in their yard, chainsawing up each other's trees that fell on their house. It starts by us listening and seeking to understand instead of writing people off based on something they say or something they post. It starts by us having hope that the Hamans of the world will get the justice they deserve, and also by us realizing all of the times in our lives that we have been Haman, proud and arrogant and cruel and bitter and bent on violence. Because we're so good at pointing fingers at other people. I mean, I am, I'll speak for myself. I'm so good at being like, you. But before we do that, we have to examine our own hearts, our own motives, our own true intentions, because that is the beginning of healing. It's coming up on Christmas, and everyone's going to be like, may there be peace on earth. And I want to respond with, may there start with you. May it start with me. Because when it starts here, then it sparks and it grows and it promotes healing everywhere. But when there's no peace in here, then we have no hope of looking past our differences and actually loving, especially our enemies, and forgiving people without revenge and not holding tightly to what we have. There's no hope of that unless it grows here first. We have 2 more songs. If you'd like to stand and sing with us, and then I, the devil, will come back and give you a benediction.
All right, these are the last 2 songs. We haven't done this one in a while. It's called Never Alone. It's Tori Kelly and Kirk Franklin. And then the last song is Thank God I Do by Lauren Daigle. So you can sing along if you desire. My time traveled some road. last one is called Thank God I Do. Remember the title of the song. You ready?
our very famous traveling musicians who decided to grace our presence with their songs this morning. It is time for the grand prize of one entire box of oatmeal cream pies. It has 12 sandwich cookies. I will have you know, not this box, but I ate one out of a different box, which is why that box is not the prize, because it's only 11, and 12 obviously is the number of the disciples. They're smaller than they used to be. And now I feel like my mom, who every time she buys a Snickers is like, these are more expensive and smaller than they used to be, and I just don't know who thinks that's okay. So I just want you to know I've officially hit like middle-aged angst about snack cakes. Special shout out to everyone wearing a costume. Where did Rachel go? Oh, she was gonna win on sheer commitment for painting her body green in 80-degree weather. It's gonna melt off, y'all. You better text her and tell her to get her butt back in here by the time I finish this. Otherwise, this prize will be going to someone else. Honorable mention to the Flintstones. Rich, what are you? Rich, what are you? Princess Fiona is here! Rachel, you have won the grand prize. Not only because Shrek is the best Disney movie ever created and Princess Fiona is the best princess, but because you painted your body green. Okay, this is just a reminder for anyone who parked in the lot across the street at the eye doctor. If you are staying for Halloween on Central, move your car. I don't want you to get towed, okay? If you're not staying for Halloween on Central, no one cares. Goodbye. You'd think I have my prayer memorized, but I don't. You think I could just pray, but I won't. I had a lot of sugar today, and trust me, more is coming. So our booth is in front of the Shell of Haslam's. It's 1 block away, okay? Come by. If you're volunteering in the booth, you can go ahead and go over as soon as service is over. Technically, Halloween on Central starts in 24 minutes. I guarantee you there's people out walking around already. I feel like that's all. Oh, pictures! I knew there was something. Will I ever remember anything I'm supposed to tell you? No. If you're wearing a costume, please don't just run out the door. Let Jarrett take photographic proof that we can keep for posterity forever. Parentheses, we own all the rights to the photos and we will post them on social media. So by taking these photos, you give your consent to be celebrated and loved eternally in the interweb. But just go outside the front door and take some photos, okay? Okay. Next week, Be Fruity is starting. Let's pray. Holy God, are you the same yesterday, today, and forever? We ask because we don't feel sure. We see all the suffering and evil in the world, and we do not know how to fix it. We see the pain and the fear in our own hearts, and we don't know how to overcome it. And we fight against the stories of devastation in the Bible because they hit too close to home. It is only by privilege that we are not the characters we read about. Perhaps years from now, people will read of us and say, how could they? How could God be with them? And God will say gently back, I was with them, always, even to the ends of the earth. Praise the Holy One of Israel, who never abandons us, never gives up on teaching us, and never loses hope. May we go and do the same for each other. Amen. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Go and make a scene.
Having fun? The party had just begun.
included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, all were digging the sounds. Igor on chains, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five. They played the Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. It caught on in a flash. They played the Monster Mash. Out from his coffin, Rex's voice did ring. Seemed he was troubled by just one thing. Opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?"